Shalom everyone and Chodesh Tov. We are discussing today the properties of the special month of Kislev. The month of Kislev, the month of Sagittarius. And again, something that I have to repeat a few times because not everybody heard the previous sessions about the different signs. We have to understand that Kabbalistically, the whole issue of astrology, there are a few things that we have to remember. One, we are not influenced by the stars. We are living in a soup of energy, and these energies are changing from hour to hour, from day to day, from week to week, and from month to month. Being aware to the changes allow us to be prepared and use those changes in the forces around us to be able to ride the waves. You know, if you don't see a wave coming, you can't surf it. Okay, so why does it say that the stars are having an effect? So the Zohar in Parashat Yitro is teaching us that the heavens are like the face of a person. The face of a person, which is in Hebrew panim, same letters as pnim, which means inside. When you want to know what does a person feel, you look at their face. You don't look at their heart, although they feel in their heart, they think with their brain, but you can't see what's going on in the heart and the brain. No one can see, even great researchers and physicians and so on. You really want to know what does the person feel, you look at the face. And the face, like the face of a computer, whatever you see on the screen does not exist on the screen. It exists somewhere else. Could be thousands and thousands of kilometers away. So, but you see it reflecting on the screen. You see things reflecting on the face, but things that happen not in the face. They happen somewhere else. In the mind, in the heart, and so on, in the belly, in the gut. Okay, so that's where you see it. Same thing. You want to know what kind of forces are happening right now around us. You look at the heavens. The heavens are like the screen, like the face of the universe. And that's what the Zohar is saying. So we look at the heavens in order to understand what's going on here. And the Creator created the heavens and the earth in a way so we can look at the heavens and see what's going on in, all the cycles of the movements of the stars and all bodily heavenly bodies. So when you see that, you can tell about what's going on over here. Just a help for us. Now, so the question is, we are right now in the year 5782, and tomorrow night is the new moon of Kislev, Sagittarius. However, in the solar calendar, the sun is moving. Into Sagittarius only in something like less than 3 weeks. So, what sign is it? And the answer is, how do we know that the sun is going into Sagittarius? There are no lines in the sky. So there's an argument among the regular astrologers about when does the sun move from one zodiac sign to another. And, that's why the biblical calendar is solving the problem. Whenever we decide that the new moon is the beginning of the new month, that's when it starts. Yes, if somebody is born today and he will be, or let's say in 2 days from now, that is going to be in the birth in the month of Kislev, he is a Sagittarius. However, if you make a chart and you see that the sun is still in Scorpio, you know that that person the soul is connected, his tikkun is connected to Sagittarius. However, he has a lot of influence from from Scorpio. I'm not saying that the sun, because the sun is a Scorpio, because he has influences of Scorpio, he was born in a way that the sun is in Scorpio, if you understand that. So what comes first? The person's tikkun or his birth chart? And the answer is, of course, his tikkun. Otherwise, he would not be born in that same day, same moment, same time. That reflects what's going on basically in his or her own soul. Okay, so what's special about the month of Kislev? The month of Kislev is the third month of the Hebrew year, and it's the third month of the fall, and there's something very special about this month. Very special. Why? Whoever listened to the explanation of the sign of Scorpio, that just is coming to its completion. This sign of Scorpio, we said, is coming always after the sign of Libra, which is also the month of the high holidays. What does it mean, the month of the high holidays? The whole month is basically one long holiday, as I explained about Libra. And what's special about this month is few things. One, and the most important, is that it's a beginning of the soul year. Okay, it's not the solar year. The solar year begins in the month as the Torah biblical year is starting on the first month, which is the month of Aries. Like the most astrology teachings around the world, most of them start with Aries. But the cycle for the human soul is not starting on Aries. It is starting on the seventh month. 7 is Malchut. The soul is the vessel of the Creator. So that's the seventh, Malchut. And on the first day in the month of Tishrei, this is the beginning of the soul year, the cycle of the human soul and tikkun. Now, because it's a beginning of a new cycle, therefore we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity to be involved in the making of the new cycle, and that process of the creation of the new year of the soul, which means all the tikkun that our soul is going to go through the whole year, it's being re-edited, reprocessed, and during the month of Tishrei, Libra, okay, and simply the scales, we need to rescale, rebalance our soul, and there are forces, special forces that are being projected on our soul to help us to be involved in the making of that new creation that is called to our soul for the coming year. So, as I said, when that month is over, that's one thing that we are reprocessing our soul. And the new year is really starting. And that's why only a week before the end of the month, we're starting to read from Bereshit in the beginning of Genesis. In the beginning, we're starting only then because that's only when the real new year is starting for us. Before that, that was the real hard work of reprocessing, baking, making, creating our karma, our tikkun, our new soul for the coming year. Now, but that was one aspect. The other aspect is the special connection during the month of Libra to, as we said in Hebrew, it is Moznaim, the shoresh of the word Moznaim, the scales, the balance. The shoresh is Ozen, the ear, and Ozen is also a code word in the biblical language of Bina. Bina is called also mother. This is the This is the upper realm, the Godhead, okay, of the upper three sefirot, from which we receive our sustenance. Therefore, the heavens are open during this month, and we receive our injection, not just injection, we're just being charged for the whole coming year. So, after the month of Libra is over, so you know very well that a human soul is like a car. If your car goes into a very, very deep overhaul, which means like taking apart to all the little pieces of the car, just taking apart everything to the little piece, and then reassembling it, fixing it, putting together, putting new parts instead of the ones that are totally worn out, and then you put them together, you need to go through a stress test. And we're just by the end of the month of Heshvan, we are at the end of the stress test. I hope you're not that much tired or stressed out or thrilled or excited. Maybe yes, from the last month, it's if you enjoy the ride. But this ride of this month is never easy. It's never easy, and it has a very strong power of, we all went. During the month of Tishrei, we all went through that overall, which means after that, things are not the same. And, it's very hard for a person to wake up to a realization that stuff that was part of his life or her life for a long time is not there anymore. It's expired, as I said last month. It's expired. It's over. It doesn't exist anymore because you don't need it. The problem is that when there is a discrepancy, contradiction between what we figure out by our logic and what is really the situation in reality, that's very painful to realize that certain stuff is not there anymore. Certain stuff has been expired and we have to move on. The realization creates usually when we are not holding on enough to the spiritual realm, we will experience crisis. Why? You're in a business and this business does not support you anymore. Okay, it's not part of your life anymore. You finish with it. You have to move on. We know that realizing that this time has come to already to expiration date is very painful. Relationships, okay, certain ways of behavior, eras in our, the collapse of the Wall Street in 29 was in Heshvan, and so on and so on. 2009, that was Heshvan. So we have to understand that we have that pain is not because it's just because we are not letting go and letting God. And we have to trust that whatever is happening is for the good, will always be for the good, always was for the good. And when we acquire that, it's much easier to go through this month, the month of Scorpio. We said also that we have two letters for the month of Scorpio, that every month has two letters that basically are the DNA of that month. That's from the book of Formation. We're going to talk about it soon in more detail. But we said that for the month of Heshvan, Scorpio, the two letters are Nun and Dalet, or Dalet and Nun. Dalet is for Mars, and Nun is for the sign of Scorpio. Dalet comes from the word Dalut, poverty, and Nun comes from, it's a word that symbolize, it's a name symbolize falling. So we have poverty and falling. Now, to see the big contradiction between Scorpio and Sagittarius, if we said that the letter for Scorpio is Daled, Dalut, poverty, and that's why, by the way, this is the letter that controls or rules or basically it is the DNA, the inner DNA of the force that is being represented by planet Mars, that force in our character, in our life, that is represented by planet Mars, or Ma'adim in Hebrew. Okay? So, and that's why we know Mars is the planet of wars, because somebody who has fallen, who feels poor, he has nothing to lose, is hungry, he goes for war. The ones whose belly is full and they have a lot of beautiful stuff around them, they don't want to go to war. What for? Are they nuts or something? No. Okay? So, if you go now to the letters according to Book of Formation, the Book of Formation, okay? The letters for Sagittarius are Somekh Gimmel. It's easy to remember because Sagittarius starts with Somekh Gimmel, Sag. Okay? Sag. Somekh Gimmel. Now, what is the Gimmel? The Gimmel is the letter which represent the force behind planet Jupiter. But Gimmel is also the letter for Gomel, Gomel Dalim, sharing with the poor. Gomel Dalim is Gimmel Dalit. So you see that if we, in the month of Scorpio, we have to connect to our deep inner poverty, inner hunger, in order to reassess ourselves. What are our main goals for the coming year? What is that we want to achieve? If you're not hungry, if you don't feel the lack, you'll never be able to move on. So a lot of people feeling the lack, for them it's a crisis. Okay? For them it's a crisis, and then they go into a lamentation. But that's wrong. Feeling the lack should make us excited, because feeling the lack means that is what I need to fulfill for the next year. So this month is not a bad month, but we have to be very spiritual, not to feel that this month, the month of Scorpio, is harassing us, oppressing us, exploding our precious stuff. No, whatever does not fit anymore, that should go, and you should let it go with happiness, with a light heart, and with the farewell, because it's over now. There's space for more to come. So that's why we see that the opportunity to make that connection with what we really want, not with the loss, what we really want. And you see the differences between the two letters Gimel and Dalet. By the way, they follow each other. You see, Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, but the Aleph belongs to one of the three major elements of the universe, and this is air. Then comes the Bet. Bet is for planet Saturn. Gimel is for Jupiter. Daled is for, as we said, for Mars. So we have Gimel Daled, and all the commentators are using the Gimel Daled. It's a very powerful combination because it is Gomel Dalim. When they come together in that sequence, it's also Gad. Gimel Daled. Gimel Daled in Hebrew means good fortune. Good fortune, which means when they are aligned this way, Gimel Daled, when your hope and trust in the good is always overpowering, controlling, okay, the lack, so you feel the lack, but you have the trust, it's going to come out right. That is a sequence Gimel Daled. Gimel Daled, God means good fortune. And Gomel Dalim, which means this is the time to reward the poor. And that means what time? That means the time of the control of Jupiter, which is the month of Sagittarius. Now, the letter for the month of Sagittarius. Now, for Sagittarius, we have the letter Somekh. What was the letter for Scorpio? Nun. And again, we have the same relationship. Here it is Somekh Nofalim. When the Somekh comes first, you have Somekh Nofalim. Somekh means in Hebrew supporting. Nofalim, the ones who fell. So you think you fell in Scorpio. What's the falling? That's tasting the taste of death, because the taste of loss. A loss of what? The stuff that we thought is so precious to our identity, and now we have to let go of it because time up, move on. So that's why, people who belong to the sign of Scorpio, they have a very strong ability to cut off, throw away, get rid of, kill whatever doesn't belong anymore, and resurrect and rise again from the ashes, right? Like the phoenix. That's the highest level of the Scorpion. We should acquire and affiliate ourselves with that kind of a consciousness of the phoenix. Now, Somekh Nofalim, again, this is the power of the letter Samech, supporting the ones who fell. So, and Somekh Nofalim, that's also the two letters, Nun and Samech, is the word Nes. Nes means miracle in Hebrew, but it really means to flee out of the box and above reality, which is basically the most exact, precise definition of what is a true, real miracle. Okay? So what does the Zohar have to say about the letter Samech? We need to read from the introduction to the Zohar. There's a very powerful, beautiful essay of the Hebrew letters. It's called the Ma'amar Otiyot, the essay of the letters of Rabbi Himnuna Sabh, Rabbi Himnuna the Elder. You can find it if you have the Sulam translation from verse 22 and on in the introduction to the Zohar. On verse 28, it's the story of the letter Samech, to understand what the letter Samech is about. The letter Samech, as we said again, is a letter that has the DNA, the consciousness, the frequency that comes out during the month of Sagittarius, Kislev. Okay? Now, the Ma'amar Otiyot, that essay, is like a story of where before the universe is being created, okay, it's a midrash, the Hebrew letters came in front of the Creator and said, each one of them, from the last one to the beginning, from Taf to Aleph, okay, please God, start the creation of the universe with me. And each one of them, God told them, no, you can't, till they came to the letter Bet, and it was decided that the letter Bet will start the creation, and that's why the first letter of the Torah is the letter Bet. And we're not going to the answer why. But the story of the letter Samech is very interesting. And it says like this, verse 28. Alat ad Samech, I'm reading from the Aramaic. Amra Kamei, and she says to the Creator, Ribbon Olamim, the Master of the universes, Nicha kamach lemivrei bialma. It should be appropriate for you to create the universe with me. The it bit smichalin falin, because I have within me, there is the power of support for the ones who fell. Dichtiv somech Hashem lechol hanoflim, as it is says in Psalms 145, that the Creator is the supporter for all the ones who fell. Amar la, so the Creator said to the letter Samech, Al da'an tzarich la'atrach, because you are the supporter of the fallen ones, I need you to be in that position. Ve'la tazuz minei, never move from your position. Iyat nafik matrach, if you ever, God forbid, get out of your place, mate alayu nafilin, what will happen? What kind of a hope there is for the ones who fell? Hoil ve'inu smichin alach. And since we are all count on you, it's a game of word in Hebrew, in Aramaic, to count on, it's also support. Lismoch, we feel that you're supporting us, okay? So we're being supported by your essence and your presence. Miyad nafkat mikamei. Immediately, the letter Somekh left the presence of the Creator and went, as it was told, to be there, the supporters of the ones who fall. Okay, why is that so important? Let us try to explain what does that mean. Let us go back. Let us go back to the creation. In the Garden of Eden, God says to Adam, and we spoke about it in the previous parashot, he says to Adam, you should eat from the tree of the garden, we know the tree of life, step by step, sephira after sephira, connecting to the lights of the tree of life from the bottom up, by building it up, that every connection will be directly connecting to the light of the Creator, because we were created for that purpose. Okay? And that means that Adam and Eve, I'm not going to go into the details, they were doing work in the Garden of Eden. They were climbing up the tree of life. However, when they ate from the tree of knowledge, and they ate it too soon, they had to wait 6 more hours. They had to build up their ability of the power to overcome their own desires and to control it. They needed to work 6 more hours, whatever it means. Okay, we're not talking about our time yet. It was not created at that moment yet. However, when they ate from the tree of knowledge, the curse has been released. What was the curse? When God said to Adam, the day you'll eat from the tree of knowledge, you will surely die. But Adam lived almost till the age of 1,000 years. The sages are saying he gave 70 years to King David, and so he lived only 930 years, the poor guy. Okay? These are the consequences for there was one rule you should not do. Okay? One rule of do not do. And you just transgress this rule. And the consequences are that you're going to live for 1,000 years. So yes, voluntarily he donated 70 years for King David. Okay? Whatever it means. Okay? But he had the 1,000 years of life to live. What are the consequences for doing such a great transgression that we all pay the consequences? And the answer is, the Zohar says, that the moment that Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, they died on the spot. The death that we experience every time we make a mistake and we fall. So that feel of loss, of anxiety, that fear of lack of confidence, that everything around you is falling apart, that fear is leading us to most of our terrible, most deadly emotions, like anger. A person who's not falling and he feels total certainty with the light of the Creator does not have the need to go to feel anger or hatred. All of those emotions are basically death. It's a death blow to our soul. And these moments of falling and death, tasting the taste of death, they are cumulative till when they accumulate enough, they kill us physically. But meanwhile, it's not that we are alive, we are just being killed softly, step by step. So every time we make a transgression, we make a mistake, every time we allow the angel of death to take over us, we fall and we feel the taste of death. What can save us from that death? The letter Somekh. The letter Somekh, the ones, the Somekh Nofalim, the one who support those who fell. That's the meaning of the word, the letter Somekh. Okay? So the Zohar says, because the letter Somekh thought that the world should be created with her, because when people fall, the most important tool that it won't become an immediate death is the power of the letter Samech, which means a person can die, which means can make a terrible mistake, feel collapse, feel darkness, and then will come that force of the letter Samech and say, it's not too bad. It's not that bad. You know what? It's not that horrible. It isn't that awful. Okay? Why is that important? Because if we will feel the taste of death all the way, we will never have any ability to rise out of it.
What?
To rise.
To rise above it. Because it will be so devastating, so overwhelming, that it was so suffocating, we'll never be able to get out of that feel. And I'll give you an example. It's known that people that belong to the sign of Scorpio, they have tendencies of suicide. Why? Because they are known for being very powerfully able to focus on something, and when they focus on something, everything else is dead. So the problem is when they focus on their falling, on their mistake, everything else is dead. And if everything else is dead and you focus on one thing that is wrong, then you have no reason to go on living. What for? Why should I? Everything is dark, everything is bleak. Their tikkun is to pull out of that focal point and realize there are also some good stuff that are happening to you in your life, okay, that you should be thankful for. If they can pull out of that focal point, they'll be able to move on. What gives us the ability to pull out of that devastation? People make mistakes, and I quoted many times King Solomon, who says, Sheva ipol tzadik vekam. A righteous person will fall 7, however, he will always be able to rise. Not like people are not very knowledgeable in spirituality, that they think maybe because of a certain wrong teachings of religion, that a righteous person never falls, and if he falls, he's doomed forever. He can't be a human being and not fall. Lo yeh tzadik ba'aretz shelo yechata. That every righteous person must fall, because otherwise, how does he experience or exercise his godliness? We're not here to be perfect. We're here to perfect. And to perfect means that you have to see the mistake, sometimes the deadly mistake, and say, you know what, it's horrible, devastating. It's not the end of the world. And I have to pull myself out of it and correct it, because I'm here to do that, not to give up. Okay? Where am I going to get that power from? The letter Samech. The letter Samech is the one who's, for most people, when they fall, most of the times, it's kind of a cushioning feeling. It's like you're taking a special pill that makes you kind of numb, so you never realize how terrible was the fall. Why? Because how else you'll be able to rise from the ashes without that power of the letter Samekh? So we'll read more from the Zohar. The letter Samekh thought itself to be more capable of all the other letters because the lights of the letter Samekh can shine to the vessels, to the Sefirot, even though they are very small. What does it mean, small? They are not really connected to the Creator. Then a state of smallness. Smallness means katnut, and that means that you're selfish, you're childish, you don't take responsibility, you blame the whole world, you kill yourself again and blame everybody else. And on one hand, you behave in such an irresponsible way, and on the other hand, you still don't refuse to take responsibility. Okay, somebody like this, it looks like they should be, extinguish themselves shortly and disappear because, this is unforgiven. The letter Samekh shines into the vessels that are at Katnut. And you know what? No one can say that all the parts of his soul are in Gadlut, greatness. There are so many parts. If we're here, we have some corrections to make. If we knew exactly how deep is and how far is and how great is the job, we will give it up. And that's why we need the letter Samekh like a pill that makes you a little bit numb so you don't realize how great the job is. So when you fall, you don't feel the pain so strongly. That will give you the ability as, people who are in Katnut, that, it's going to be okay. In Israeli Hebrew, we say, Smokh, Samekh, Smokh. It's going to be okay, don't worry. You know what? He's not worried. I have to be worried because he's not. Right? ואין באורות החסדים האלה שום אחיזה של משהו לקליפות. The lights, and what's the secret is, and most important, that the lights of the letter Samekh cannot go to the dark side. This is the secret of the light. It can sip into the ones in the dungeon, the ones in the mental dungeon, or the ones in the physical, it doesn't matter. And that gives people the ability to say, you know what? It's not that awful. It's not the end of the world. Let's get up and start all over again. Somebody else will say, like, how could they? And the answer is, they have to. Because how can you fix what's broken if you don't start believing that you can get up and fix it? Many times, there are many spiritual stories about it, but many times it is said, when I think each one of us can remember moments in which we look backwards at what we have done and we say, like, this is unbelievable. I had no idea that I'm capable of making such an achievement. If I knew the extent of the project, I would never even start. I will just sit and cry with hopelessness. How could I do that? Hashem, what do you want from me? The letter Samekh gives you that, like a child, delusional feeling that it's going to be okay. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. Why am I saying it? We are starting the month of Sagittarius, and here Samekh is coming right now to give us that pill that after the falls of Scorpio, the devastation, the frustration, the upset, the anger, okay, all of those very, very strong feelings, the Sagittarius is coming in and kind of say, it's like a pill, okay? It makes you numb. And that means that you'll be able to look at stuff with hope and say, yes, I can do it. I don't know the scope, but it looks like, why not? Why can't I do it? If you know a Sagittarius, that's the way they are almost 24/7, all their lives. Oh, no problem, it's going to happen. And you know what? They make it happen. And you say sometimes, they must be kind of they're very childish. And a lot of Sagittarius, it looks like they're childish because they have this like excitement of a child that, hello, don't you realize you're living in this world? It's not that easy. But you know what happens? The moment you don't believe it's that hard, it's not that hard. So they go wherever they go. And as we said, what happens when it's Gomel Dalim? Feeding, rewarding the poor. God, Gimmel Dalim, it's good fortune. People from the sign of Sagittarius, they have more fortune and good luck and miracles happening to them than, statistically, than all other signs of the zodiac. And when they're very excited, and usually they make it happen. And people say, how could you do it? I don't know, why should it be so hard? Because they have this like small, like a childish trust in the good that makes them do that. Okay, that's how powerful and how important the letter Somekh is about. Which means if this world is about death, this world that we know has been created under the shadow of death, because every time we make a mistake, and it's all under the shadow of the mistake of the tree of knowledge. So the angel of death is everywhere. Without the letter Somekh, there's no way we can ever have happiness, excitement, hope, and delusions. Humans are delusional. We have delusions, we dream, and you know what? Because of those dreams, many, many, many times we dream and it doesn't happen the way we dream it. You know what? But it's still making us going. It's it's making the engine go. And those delusions, those dreams, that energy of the letter Somekh, that shines into the lowest levels that a person can reach. And it makes him feel, you know what, it's not that bad. I can get up from here and I can make it. Okay? And then years later, you look backwards, it's like, how did I think I can make it? If I knew how tough it is, how big it is, how deep it is, I would never even try. With the help of the letter Somekh, you make it. You know how many times you're running a project, and you know that few people try to do this function they tried to activate, and they could make it. Someone new is coming, and you tell the person, "Oh, just go and do it." It's like and they go and they do it without the difficulties of the previous ones. Why? Because they don't know it's impossible. That's why they do it. So the letter Somekh has that magical power of being kind of delusional, and that means you go for that delusion, for that hope, for that project, for whatever dream you have, and when you make it happen, the whole world, including yourself, is saying, what a miracle, that was impossible. But when people say that's impossible, what they're saying basically, I'm stupid. Why? Because if it happened, it is possible. So why are you saying it's impossible? You're just saying, I'm not smart enough, right? So don't say impossible. Don't say never. Okay, so that's some very important understanding about the essence of the month of Sagittarius. Another one is the Gimmel. The letter Gimmel is, we'll come back more into it, but Gimmel, as we said, Gomel Dalim, feeding or rewarding the poor, the ones who are poor. Somekh Nofalim. Okay, so the letter Gimmel is the letter of grace, the letter of plenty. During this month, it's kind of like soothing, relaxing. On the other hand, but we know it's a very exciting month, very active. And Sagittarius are very, very active. Why? Because when you don't take the blows of life too serious, then you have that childish energy to be excited about everything. Okay? And this is so important because as long as you have that, you stay young. And you know what's the difference between young and old? It's not how many years you're walking on earth. Young people are the people that have their future in front of them. Old people are the people that the future is behind them. So there are people in the age. I had this one of my few great masters. He lived almost to the age of 100. And I used to go to him. He lived in Jerusalem. And I used to go to him once in a while to sit with him and to talk. And I remember he was after older than 95 already. I was in my early 20s. And he was talking to me. He was saying, you should do this and you should. And he was like, like a soda can that you shake and you open and the fizz is all over. That's how he was older than 95. And I was feeling old and tired next to him because he always had more ideas, and it took me many, many years to figure out all of those advices he gave me. So it's not about how many years you're on earth. The question is, can you use the Samekh? Can you use the Gimmel? Can you use the Samekh Gimmel in the month of Sagittarius to get re-excited about your life and about the coming year after the stress test of the month, the really serious stress test, because Scorpios are always very serious. Okay, so after the very serious stress test of Scorpio. Now let's go to the formula about this month, but before that, Samekh and Gimmel, it's also something very important. Whoever studies Kabbalah, Samekh Gimmel is a code for a very important thing. We have, when we're speaking about the different levels, you have the level of Olam Asiyah, the mundane world, the physical world. Now, the number that symbolizes the Olam Asiyah is the number 52. Above it, you have Olam Yetzirah, which is the spiritual realm, and the number for that realm in Kabbalistic everywhere, it's 45. Above it, you have Olambria. Olambria is the next world, the world to come. That world, from that world we get during the month of Libra, Tishrei, this is where we get our life, sustenance. That's the source of our life. And the number for that is 63. Samekh Gimmel is 63. It's not by coincidence. It is very important to realize. 63 is Bria, Sfirat Bina. We were connected to it during the month of Tishrei. After the month, going through the month of Scorpio, we realized where do we still need to correct, that we didn't do the correction on the month of Heshvan, on Tishrei. Now we have a second chance. And that second chance comes to its completion during the 8 days of Hanukkah, that most of them fall in the month of Sagittarius. And another symbol, another number for Beria or Sfirat Bina is number 8. Note the number 63 is the sequence, the frequency of Sfirat Bina. Okay, the source of life for us. But when we're counting the place of Sfirat Bina, it's number 8 from the bottom. Number 8 above this physical world. Okay? Number 8. So it's like Bina is the mother, and we have the 7 sons. Okay? If you know the stories about Hanukkah, whoever learned the traditions about Hanukkah, about the history of Hanukkah, there's a very famous legend about that woman. Her name was Hannah. She had 7 sons, and all of them gave their lives because, or simply died, were executed by the Greek king because they did not want to give up on their faith in God. They did not want to follow the idols of the Hellenistic rulers of the Middle East of that time. And all of them were executed. But if you think about it, Chana, the word Chana, it's 63 also in Gematria. The numerical value Chet is 8, Nun is 50, Hey is 5, together 63. And Bina is also called mother. And how many Sefirot under Bina that Bina needs to feed? 7 Sefirot of the physical world. So here we have Hannah and her 7 sons. Okay? It's almost, I don't know how it went, because one of the name for Bina is also white. So Snow White and the 7 dwarf, but that's going very far. But there's a kind of idea about that one motherly figure that feeds the ones that receive her sustenance. And that's what this month is about. Hanukkah is again 8 days, which is Bina and the 7 Sefirot. Now, if you look at the word Hanukkah, you can easily find the letters Hana in the word Hanukkah. What's left? Kafvav. Kafvav is 26, which is the Tetragrammaton, symbolizing the Sefirot under Bina. So this is amazing. So it means that during the month of Kislev, there is a reappearance of the light of Bina, and it comes to its peak during the 8 days that starts on the 25th of Kislev for 8 days. During those 8 days, or during the whole month, it's like we have ability to connect, to fix, to correct. And even there's a legend, an old legend that says, yes, on Rosh Hashanah, every human soul will be written down. Okay? Who's to live, who's to die, and so on. But that will hang on till Yom Kippur. By the end of Yom Kippur, it's being written and signed, but it's still waiting there till Hoshana Rabbah, which is the 7th day of Sukkot. And then it's signed twice, but it's not being sent. It's being sent only on Simchat Torah, the 22nd day of Tishrei. Okay? But then it says you can still recall till the end of Hanukkah, which means we still have a chance to reconnect to the same lights of rebirth of the month of Tishrei during the month of Sagittarius, which means this is a month that is full of positive energy, of livelihood and sustenance and good luck and good fortune and so on. But it's given to us so we can get up from the falling of Heshvan, Scorpio, and trust our ability to make it for the rest of the year. The downside, the bad side of the letter Somekh, every letter is good and bad, everything in life. That if you have, some people, and it's all of us in certain times around our lives, we use the power of the Somekh as if it's not that bad, why should I bother changing it? Why should I bother coming out of it and fixing it? So that's why it's basically that's the big disease of complacency. Of why it's not that horrible, and what I did is not that negative, and it's not that hurting. Why do I need to bother? That's the danger of this month. The same thing when you know people of the month of Sagittarius, you can see their bursting energy, their positive outlook about life. And at the same time, you can see that many times they are celebrating life, they're so excited about life, but the real problems, they run away from them. They go run. Many they run, and they're very creative and so on in the same place. Instead of getting out of the comfort zone and conquering the world that is still not being corrected and acquired and conquered. Okay, so let us go to the basic rules of the month of Sagittarius. It is the month of Sagittarius is in the fall, which is the third season. Okay, and it is the third month of the fall, so it's the third of the third. And that means they have very strong and very high sensitivity for imbalance, justice. It's like they will be fighting for justice. They will be like sensitive for justice. They will like be the knights on the white horse coming to save the poor, to support the poor. They have that sensitivity. And also it means also in the language, the Kabbalistic language, we know the third season, the fall, is, or the whole season is under the influence of the element air, avir. And that means very intellectual, fast thinkers, very creative, moving fast, thinking fast, very intelligent, and again, very sensitive for injustice. Now, it is the third month of the fall, which means all of that, it's like double it and square it, whatever. All of it in a Sagittarius. And that's why they're like they say about Sagittarius that they're so sensitive, they don't have a mean bone. One of the major definitions of a psychopath is that it's somebody that can inflict so much pain on others and it doesn't bother. Okay? A normal human being cannot inflict pain on others because there is in every human being that ability to feel associated with the other human being and to feel their pain. And therefore, it's very hard for most human beings to inflict pains on others because you feel it yourself. A psychopath is kind of deprived from that ability, and therefore they have the ability to inflict so much pain on others without even being affected. Okay? Because of their very, very, very super high sensitivity to others, they can't inflict pain on others. When do they do that? Let's go. We have another element. Everybody knows, whoever knows a little bit of astrology, that Sagittarius are the sign of fire. So we have two air. One air because it's the base of all three signs of the fall. One air because it's the third month of the fall. But it's a fire sign. But it's one fire with two air. That's why the fire of the Sagittarius never burn you. The fire of an Aries, when you really make them upset, they will explode. Okay? It will, they'll forget about it very shortly after. But meanwhile, everybody around is wounded. Leo, fire, when they upset, everybody will feel that, right? Everybody will know I am the king over here, correct? And everybody will taste my fire, my rage. Okay, but Sagittarius, it's fire, but there's so much air, and the air on one hand fans the fire. That's why they have, you know, unlimited energies. Sagittarius on one hand. On the other hand, it's like the fire does not burn anyone. It's very creative. With a lot of air, it fans the fire. So, but there's more to it. So, because the goodness and the goodness, the good heart, the positivity, it's also affected from the Somekh Gimmel, which means when you're flooded with positive energies, you cannot give what you don't have. When you connect to that magical sequence of Somekh Gimmel, you can't stop sharing it and giving it. So you're a sharing person by birth, you're a creative person, and you're a positive person, and you're positive in a way that is always kind of childish because it's so positive. And let's see what else we can say about it. Oh, yes. Reading from the Bnei Sachar, as I explained, Bnei Sachar is a great Kabbalist Hasidic rabbi, lived in Eastern Europe in the 19th century, and he assembled all the knowledge from the texts, from the ancient texts about the different signs. So he said, צירוף השם הנכבד המאיר בחודש כסלו הוא ו' י' ה' ה'. We know from Tikkunei Zohar that there are 12 possible sequences or permutations of the Tetragrammaton, one for each sign of the zodiac. Each one of them is another aspect of the DNA of that sign. So the sequence of the Tetragrammaton of Kislev is Vav Yud Hey Hey. And whoever has some experience sees immediately that Vav and Yud come first and then the Hey Hey. Vav and Yud are considered to be male letters. Hey and Hey, it's the female letters. You have a polarity over here that the male letters come first. When the male symbolize the giving, the energy, okay, the plus size. The female is the minus size. So when the male letters are in the beginning, that means the male energy is very dominant among the sign of Sagittarius. What does it mean, male energy? The energy of energy. First of all, you always have energy. Second, even if you fall, the summer feeds you with energy, you don't feel that you don't have energy. Okay, but you're very connected to the source. And that energy is very dominant, which means creativity. You're never sitting laid back and saying, what can I do? My life is such a failure, whatever. That's not Sagittarius. If it's Sagittarius does like this, it's like, that's very strong influence of something else, or they have a very rare moment. Okay? It doesn't add too much about it. It just speaks a lot about the first of all, Hanukkah, the energy of. It's not by mistake that Hanukkah, that holiday, that on one hand, it's started with being so the Jews of Judea of that time. We're talking about some 22 centuries ago. Everybody was kind of complacent, right? It's like things were okay, many years of peace. There was no war in Jerusalem for centuries already. And when you start to be complacent and you're not willing to fight for what is important for you, somebody will take it away from you. You need to put, the boundaries about what's really important for you. Sagittarius have a problem because everything is so great. So when are you going to be alarmed that somebody just crossed the border? Okay? And that is something that every culture, every civilization that arrives to that place that of being flooded with merchandise, with peace, with security like never before, and that's our culture, and then you find yourself in a place of complacency, and that means it's dangerous. Someone might come and take it from you because you're not appreciating what you've got. You think it was like this, is like this, and will always be like this, because why not? That's one of the problems of a Sagittarius. And then somebody comes and takes away a chunk of their life. And how do they respond? If you're satiated, let's talk about Sagittarius, satiated, and the planet of Jupiter, which is about fortune and it's like music and beauty and design and whatever, all of this plenty. This is our culture. And then somebody comes and says, I'm taking part away from you. And you're saying, why bother? It's like they probably needed it. Or I'm so busy with stuff, I don't have time. And if you're not fighting for what you have, you're not willing to fight for it, someone will come and take it away from you. So finally, the Hellenistic colonizers of Israel at that time, they tried to take it away. They tried to take away the culture, the assets, the study of the Torah, the Shabbat, all of that stuff. And a lot of the Jews said, what can we do? We're busy. We're paying the mortgage for our beautiful home. We're paying we're paying the lease for the beautiful car we just bought. Well, we're going to war right now. We're risking everything. Don't make waves. Finally, they came into the temple and they took over, and they threw away or killed whoever did not follow the rules, till the Maccabees realized basically, it was their father, Matityahu, who was a Scorpio, by the way, okay, that enough is enough. And he got up and he started the war. And the war lasted for 3 years, and 3 years later, they came back and re-established now the independent Second Temple that was built centuries before, but it was always under a colonial empire, first under the rule of the Persians, then the rules of the Hellenistic colonialistic empire, first with Alexander the Great, and then these ones and that ones, but finally you had to fight back. And you have to fight back because you appreciate your gifts that God gave you. So you're not willing to let anyone to take it away from you. And that's the biggest tikkun of the Sagittarius. The goodness, the positivity, the excitement, your basic assets of values, you have to fight for them. I'm not saying with rage, because you don't have it basically, but believing that you have it, and you should keep it. Okay, so we spoke a lot about the month of Sagittarius, and for now it's too long. There's so much more to say, but I think we already got it, and thank you everyone, and enjoy and rejoice this special new month.